I started a Facebook page, the Bowen and surrounds need and want the Abbot Point expansion, about 18 months ago. I started it because I was tired of the misconceptions that all the green groups are putting out there about this port development. There was no avenue for anyone to go to get the right answers. People were believing the lies that the Greens were putting out there, and they were just lies. They weren't true. We're going to dredge the reef, we're going to mine the reef, we're going to dump on the reef, we're going to dig up and dump on the Great Barrier Reef. It's not true. It's where they're going to dump the spoils, nowhere near where the reef is.
It's interesting in Australia because attitudes to the Greens are really polarised. There are some people who are quite on board and quite supportive, and there are a lot of people who just hate the Greens. They see us as these radical environmentalists who want to destroy the economy, and that can be really frustrating. But I think that comes from negative portrayal in the mainstream media, and the way I like to, I guess, question and challenge that is to have face-to-face conversations with people where you can show them that you're not some crazy radical, you're a person just like them, and you have the same values as them, and you care about the same things. It's just you have a slightly different idea about what should be prioritised.
In the 5 years I've been here, I've seen 35 businesses go under. Take a walk up the main street and you'll see every second shop's empty. There's 250 houses in Bowen that are empty. A lot of people invested a lot of money in this town, built new houses, and they're all empty. We really need this to go ahead.
There's no reason that protecting the environment and promoting development need to be in conflict, but we've kind of lost sight of this idea of sustainable development. Really, part of the problem is that a lot of people, particularly miners, port workers, people in the construction industry, they've been convinced that it's in their long-term interests for these sorts of developments to go ahead. And I think while there's some truth to that, I think it's also important to recognise that the people who are making the money out of these developments aren't necessarily those workers at the bottom. Oftentimes they're really rich companies, billionaires, people at the top of the economic pyramid, and they're the ones who are making the profit out of these developments. And the workers aren't really going to see the long-term benefits. They might get a few $1,000s extra for a couple of years, but in the long term, the resources and the natural environment that sustain our society are going to be permanently damaged. And so that doesn't really benefit those people. So it's not about saying, oh, it's hippies versus miners. That's a really bad way of looking at it. It's about saying, what kind of world do we want to live in into the future, and what's the best way to get there in the short term?
We've been treading water in this town long before I came here. And we still are, and we're still struggling. Make a call, get on with it, and move on. If they were going to damage the reef, people would be held accountable, and no one wants to see the reef damaged. I want my kids to grow up here, I want them to be able to fish out there and to enjoy the reef, the same as anyone else in this community.